Welcome everyone and good evening. And we're ready to get going for another time with In Light of Awareness. So thank you again all for being here. I'm so excited. We are continuing with May, and our name of the month is going to be Journey to Freedom, Coexisting with Duality. So tonight's subject on duality is all about which side of the fence are you on. So I want you to think about that for a moment. What exactly does that mean? And what exactly is duality, right? Duality, most of us look at as being negative or positive, right or wrong, good or bad, yes or no. But duality comes in every single format known to man. So where there's one side of something, there's also the other. Two sides of the story, so to speak, right? And so what we want to talk on tonight is kind of reflecting on knowing which side of the fence you're on. Because you never know during life and during different events. And when you can understand the side of the fence that you're on, not only are you on one side or the other, which extreme are you? The closer you are to the center where the actual fence line is, you're going to coexist in harmony with that duality. It's when you're on the extremes of both sides of the fence is when things start to really begin, say, running amok. So let's say conflict. So we're in a situation and we're being challenged with conflict. And it can be conflicting ideas, it can be conflicting events, it can be conflicting person. Because sometimes, our energies don't always match up with the other person, especially if we don't agree on the subject matter at hand, right? So where is your level when it comes to conflict? Is it close in the center, or are you just maybe a little bit in conflict? Or are you like totally off over here somewhere in left field, totally being in out of control conflict? So kind of pace yourself everywhere in between when it comes to things that are conflicting. So if we go to the other side of the spectrum, and let's take what's the opposite of conflict. It could be matching. It could be a perfect fit. So there's different words on both sides of the fence that are related to sometimes a similar word. So where are you? Are you totally elated with perfection? With the conflict? Do we have a little conflict and perfection at the same time? We can't have both. And I want you to really stop for a minute and think about exactly what I just said. We talked a little bit about that last week. So you can't be both at the precise same time. You can have both emotions, conflict and perfection, but it has to be one or the other. So when you're in conflict with the situation or the element of what's taking place, there is no perfection. So it's when you meet that perfection and you maintain the perfection, then you can say, where are you on that right side of the fence, that perfection side of the fence? Is it, it's satisfactory perfection? Like, I'm okay with it. It's not quite 100%. Then that means what? We're still bouncing on the other side of the fence with a little bit of conflict. Maybe the conflict's not way out in left field, but it's residing closer to the fence, as is our perfection, riding closer to the fence, which then causes the coexisting with it to not really harmonize, because we're not in 100% agreement or perfection, right? So maybe we're lacking 20%. We're close, We're close to that middle line of harmony, but we're still 20% away in perfection. So by allowing the other side of the fence, the conflict, to understand what that conflict is and what needs to be done to reach perfection, to total satisfaction, so that when that subject or element comes into play, you're operating over here at 100% perfection, and no matter what anyone else says or does, conflict will not be an issue because you've already perfected it to your 100% satisfaction. So everything in life that you do, all your interactions, whether they be in a personal relationship, whether they be business oriented, or whether just out in a social activity, it's bringing that perfection into play. It's like tonight, bringing this show to you. There was a little bit of conflicting thing going on, which was called the wind. And we're outside doing this tonight because it was such a beautiful night. Then the wind decided to add a little conflict to it. So it's like, okay, what do we need to do to create 100% perfection so that we can move out of any conflict to make this the best show possible? So it's walking around the buildings, finding the location, and setting up, making sure that the wind was not going to interfere with my voice. It was not going to interfere with the camera. And you know, all these things. So now we found a spot, and I can say 100% this was perfection for this particular event. So you kind of see how that works, you know. And so let's try something different. Let's try going with another element of duality. Let's say sadness and happiness. So we look at different events, you know, going into, say, a party. And it's a birthday celebration for someone. So there might be things that will trigger in that. What would cause sadness, you're saying? Well, what would cause sadness in a birthday party? Well, there might be a little bit of sadness because one of the persons that you would really have loved to seen there couldn't make it to the event. Maybe because they had another conflicting event, right? Or maybe they were no longer in a physical body. And it kind of saddened you that they wouldn't be there because it may have been a celebration for a grandchild or for a child or for someone, maybe a partner. So there's a lot of things that can constitute bringing different emotions into events, even happy events. So for the most part, we need to look at what's this happy event all about, this birthday party, right? You should be right there at 100% happiness, understanding what maybe there are little pieces of the sadness, and come to terms with that sadness, and then take that sadness and be happy that you recognize that and turn that happiness into fulfillment to where now you can be 100% happy. Bring that person with you in spirit to attain pure happiness during the event. And that will help the event even be more exciting and adventurous. So do you see how you can utilize both sides of emotions? It's that coexisting with duality. And when you coexist in harmony, that's when you can help and understand and meet your full potential of all things. Let's take one that you're more familiar with that happens all the time, right? So let's just say yes and no. Are things really just that cut and dry? They should be, right? They should be. So let's say someone is asking you to go to lunch with them, and you don't want to have lunch with them. And so you say no. Cut and dried, right? No. And you're 100%. And then the other person says, well, why not? Well, what's wrong? What happens? All of a sudden we find ourselves doing what? Making excuses, finding a reason, rather than just saying, well, I'm choosing not to, and leave it at that. Yeah. My answer was no, I choose not to. We have to start compensating. What does that do with the conflicting dualities of which side of the fence are you on? Are you on the yes side or are you on the no side? Now you're kind of jumping back and forth, which doesn't put harmony in that simplicity of just saying no or just saying yes. And how many times has someone given you a yes when you've asked for something, and maybe some help, to meet them somewhere, to have an answer back, let's put it that way, and they say, yeah, sure, and then all of a sudden the buts come. Oh yeah, but whoa, what happens? That simplicity of yes and no, of which side of the fence are you on, all of a sudden gets more complicated, which takes us into another duality of complicated or simple. So I'm thinking you're starting to understand what duality is all about and which side of the fence you're on. So what I want you to take away from here tonight is having maybe a clearer perspective and an ability to recognize the duality of which side of the fence are you on, the depth of what emotion on which side of the fence it is that you're on, and how you can take the opposing side of the fence and turn it into your friend, where you can start to understand what the opposition is, so that you can be 100% on the side of the fence without having to jump back and forth and having little irritations come in, because you can't be both at the same time. It's just like when you went to this party, right? You wanted to be 100% present and happy for the celebration. And by bringing your little bit of sadness and bringing the spirit of the person you were sad for that couldn't make it with you in spirit, fulfilled that perfection of happiness. And when you can do that with whichever opposition of the fence that you're on, and meeting that at 100%, then you are coexisting in harmony with duality. Because you can't have both. It's either one or the other, or jumping across the fence, right? So I hope that kind of gives you a little insight and gives you food for thought, because it can be quite intriguing in your thought processing. So thank you again for joining me here tonight, and stay tuned for next week. Make sure that you're doing comments and sending me some likes, and pass this on. Share it with anyone who couldn't be here tonight. And so thank you. Next week, it's going to be a nice surprise for what we have in our coexisting with duality again. So thank you very much. Oh, I almost forgot. Thursday night, I am going to be on a radio show. Okay? It's Luminosity Radio is what it's called. So make sure you get on my page, and the link will be there, and I'm going to be throwing it out all over the social medias. It's Luminosity Radio. And they're going to interview me, which is going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to talk a little bit more in depth, on duality. So if you have any questions that you'd really love to get asked on this show, they're asking me to bring lots of questions. And I would love to bring your questions to the table and get them answered there. So Luminosity Radio, 3 o'clock Pacific time on Thursday in 2 days. So be there. And then on the 25th of May, which is at the end of this month, I am also having a class on duality. And we're really going to get into the meat and potatoes of what this whole class is all about, where I will share with you tools and skills that you can walk away from. And that class is called, of course, Journey to Freedom, Coexisting with Duality. It starts on Thursday the 25th, starts at 6 o'clock, goes till 9 o'clock. It is limited to 50 seats, 50 tickets. And there's a lot of bonuses that come with that. So again, watch for my emails. Watch for my social media post, so that if you know someone in the Las Vegas area, please send them to this little mini 3-hour class, because it's going to be so impactful and they're going to get so much out of it. The cost is only $50 and you can bring a friend for free. So how simple is that? And that's going to be so much fun. So again, May 25th, from 6 to 9, the mini class, and watch for the ads out there. And this week, in 2 days, on Thursday at 3 o'clock, Luminosity Radio here in Las Vegas, Pacific time. Be there. And I'm so excited. So again, thank you all for being here tonight. And I'm going to also post the links to the Luminosity Radio and the link so that you can register for the class on the 25th. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to next week. Thanks.